Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it has been a while since I filmed a video. This month has just been ridiculously busy, so I'm really apologise for that. I went to my first ever festival this month, so that was really exciting. I had a really good weekend. There's been birthdays, parties, family reunions. It's just been hectic, but I'm so happy to be filming again and I'm back on track, ready to film another makeup look for you all. So in today's video I show you how I got this makeup look right here, just to zoom you guys in a little bit. So it's just this really nice, you could almost call it like a sunset, I guess, cut crease eye makeup look with a nice mauve coloured lip. Obviously you can pair it with whatever lip colour that you wanted, but I just went with this colour. Without any further ado, if you wanted to see how I achieve this makeup look, then please just keep on watching. Oh, and really quickly, just a disclaimer, I really apologise for the lighting change in this video. I had my dinner halfway through it, and today's lighting has just been awful. It's just been such a grubby, awful day, and obviously, typically, whilst I was eating my dinner, it had to get progressively darker, so I came up and filmed again, and the lighting had changed quite a lot, so really sorry for that. I hope it doesn't affect the video too much, and yeah, enjoy! So I have just finished doing my other eye off camera, just so you can see what it looks like. So this is the finished result, if it will focus. There we are. Just do a little eye shot. But yeah, I thought it'd be easier just to do one eye off camera, just so we can really focus on how to achieve the look on this eye. So I'm going to be using my Morphe 35B palette for this look, which is this palette, which you guys have seen before. So it just includes all these really bright shades. And to start off with, I'm going to be taking this yellow shade right at the bottom here, and I'm just going to be applying that with a big fluffy brush. I'm using the Morphe M504 brush. Just any big fluffy brush that you have will be fine. So I'm just going to start by applying that basically all over my crease. It doesn't really matter if you get this shade on your lid, just because this is our transition colour. So as I've said before, it doesn't really matter too much where you place the transition colour, as long as it's there. I am also just going to drag this colour out just slightly, just so we're starting to make the shape of our cut crease. We will be making that shape a lot more prominent when we add the darker colours. So I'm now going to be taking a Zoeva 227 Luxe Soft Definer Brush, which is just basically, it's still a fluffy brush but has a little bit more shape to it, it's a little bit more thinner. And I'm going to be taking this pinky purpley shade right at the top here, and I'm just going to be applying that basically exactly where I applied the yellow shade, but just keeping it a little bit lower down. So you'll be able to see what I mean. I'm still keeping this colour, still quite high up, but I am keeping it a little bit lower than I did with the yellow shade, just so that we can still see the yellow shade that we applied. And as you can see, I'm just starting now just to lightly make the shape of my cut crease. Now going back in with that first fluffy brush that we used, I'm going to be taking the orange shade in the palette. And I'm actually going to be using this orange shade just to blend them two colours together. This will look really nice, as you'll be able to just see that burst of orange coming through. So just where the harsh line is between them two colours, I'm just going to be lightly applying that orange shade just with a big fluffy brush. Be able to see how easily them two colours blend together just by using another colour to blend them out. Good little trick that is, if you're struggling to blend two colours together, just try dipping into a different shade just to try and blend them two colours out, and it actually works really nicely. And then if you feel like you've lost some of the yellow which we first applied, just still using that big fluffy brush that we first used, just go back into the yellow and just bring it back to the look. It's all just about building up the colours just to get it to how you like it, really. Now going back in with that Zoeva 227 Definer brush, I'm going to still take that pinky purpley shade and basically just go over exactly what I've just done, just to make the colour a little bit more darker. Going back into that orange again, and then the yellow afterwards. So now I'm going to be taking a much more defined brush, and this is the Zoeva 231 Luxe Petite Crease brush. You can see this brush just comes to a complete point, so this is really going to help us keep the darker colours into the crease a lot better. And I'm now just going to be taking this purple shade right at the bottom here, and I'm going to be keeping this shade, as you probably guessed, a little bit lower down than I did with the previous shade that I just applied. So I've just got some of that dark purple on the brush, and I'm going to be keeping this colour just as best I can just into my crease. I'm not going to bring this up too high at all, just because this is quite a dark shade and I don't want to ruin all the other colours that we've just applied. It doesn't matter if the shade gets on your lid, because we are going to be covering the lid with some concealer anyway. And the good thing about having a pointed brush like this is it's easier to draw out the shape that you want your crease to be, because it has a point, it just gives you that guidance. Now I'm going to be using that Zoeva 227 Luxe Soft Definer brush, the one that I just used previously before this, and I'm going to be taking that lighter purple, which is the colour I just used before this shade, and I'm going to be blending out the darker purple as best I can. It's always better to help a colour blend out by using the colour that you used just before it, and that's why you're going to get that really nice gradient effect. So now I've roughly just blended out that harsh line, I'm going to go back in with that big fluffy brush, and I'm going to be taking that orange shade again. So once you've finished applying them shades, just keeping with the Zoeva 231 definer brush, which is that pointed brush that we just used, I'm going to be taking this purple shade just here, keeping this really low down into my crease, making sure I'm still creating the shape that we've got going on, just to give the look a lot more definement. Basically applying this exactly where I just applied the last shade, but because this is a slightly darker shade, it's just going to give us a little bit more definement, and it's going to help with that ombre effect that we want. And then, as you probably guessed, to blend that shade out, I'm just going to be repeating exactly the same steps as I have been doing. So I'm going to be taking the colour that I used just before this to blend out the harsh line, and then so on and so forth with the other colours. So now for the final colour, I'm going to still be using that Luxe 231 Petite Crease brush, which is that pointed brush that we've been using, just because you don't really need several brushes to create a look like this. As long as you have one big fluffy brush and then like a defined brush, and you know, you're fine really. But for the final colour, I'm going to be using this black shade right at the bottom here, which may scare some of you to go straight in with a black, but don't worry, you only need the tiniest amount, and it's really going to give you that defined crease. So I've taken the smallest amount of black on the brush, and I'm going to keep this as low down as possible, just applying this right into the crease of my eye. And you can see how much difference it makes just by applying a black. Just start light-handed, so just apply a tiny amount of black, you don't need loads. Just do the rough shape of your cut crease where you want it to be, and then we'll blend out the black afterwards. So to blend out that black, I'm going to be going back in with that 227 definer brush, and I'm going to be taking that dark purple shade that we just previously used, just to blend out that harsh line. So now it's time for the fun part, which is cutting the crease. So I'm going to be taking this Maybelline Fit Me concealer. I don't quite know what, oh, it's on the top. This is in the shade number 20. And I'm just going to be applying this just with a flat synthetic brush. I highly recommend a flat synthetic brush when doing a cut crease. Otherwise, I mean, imagine trying to do a cut crease with a fluffy brush. It's just not going to work. One that looks roughly like this is from a brand called You Spicy. Never heard of that before. I think I got it off Amazon or eBay. And this is the number 19 brush, just in case you are interested. So what I like to do is just apply some concealer on my hand. You honestly don't need a lot because you're only going to be cutting your crease. So I'm just going to be cutting my crease just under where that black shade is. So you can see where I've applied that black shade, that really dark shade, and I'm just going to be basically applying it just under that, just so we can still see the black shade. You don't want to go over the black shade at all, but you'll be able to hopefully see as I go along. So this is really tricky for me to do because I'm like holding a mirror, but then I also need to hold my eye in order to get a right neat application. So it's like I'm going to have to like hold my mirror with my feet or something. That's just not going to work, is it? So I normally like to, I know it's really weird, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I kind of like to hold my eye closed like this. I kind of put my fingers just lightly on my eyelashes and just hold it closed, just so I can get a really good view of my whole entire eyelid. I'm literally like balancing my camera on my kneecap at the moment. I think I should get an award for this. So I'm just going to start off at the front portion of my eyelid. And I'm just going to be carving out exactly where I want the cut crease to be. So you can see I'm creating that shape that we were creating when applying the eyeshadow, like so. Looks a mess right now, but once it's filled in and everything, as long as you've got your main shape, that's the most important thing. So once you're happy with the shape of your cut crease, then just fill in your lid with the concealer. Once you're happy with the shape of your cut crease, one thing that I find never gets spoken about enough when doing a cut crease is right now, as I've just applied the concealer, obviously the concealer is still wet. At this point you can't just look straight like normal. You have to kind of keep your head tilted back and your eyebrow up, because if I was to look at the camera normally right now, the concealer, because it's still wet, would transfer onto the shadow, and that is unfortunately what happened here on this eye. I kind of just looked up like normal at my phone and then forgot that the concealer was still wet. So after you've done the concealer, straight away as best you can apply the powder, and then once you've set the concealer down with powder, then you can look up normally, because then it won't transfer onto the shadow. To set the concealer, I'm just going to be using my Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'm just going to be using that same brush that I used just to cut the crease. So I am now happy with how my cut crease looks. I apologise, by the way, if the lighting has changed a lot. I just went and had my dinner and obviously it gets dark so quickly. So I really apologise if the lighting isn't great. But hopefully you can still see my eyeshadow. For my lower lash line, I'm going to be using this Dose of Colours brush. I believe I got this in a palette when I bought one of their eyeshadow palettes. So basically it just has a fluffy side on one end, and then on the other end it has this pointed side, and I'm actually going to be using just this brush for my lower lash line. So just with this fluffy side of the brush, I'm going to be dipping into that yellow shade and applying that all over my bottom lash line. I'm going to be taking the orange shade and I'm going to be applying this shade just on my actual lash line. I'm then going to go back to the pointed side of the brush. I'm going to be taking that purple shade right at the bottom, and I'm going to be applying this exactly where I applied the orange, so just keeping it right up to my lash line. Then finally going back in with that pointed side of the brush, I'm going to be taking the black shade in the palette, and I'm going to be keeping this, again, you probably guessed it, right on my lower lash line. To finish the look, I'm just going to be taking the white shade in the palette, and just with my finger I'm just going to be applying this just in my inner corner of the eye. Now that eyes are done, I'm now going to be doing my lashes. I'm now going to be curling my lashes with just these NYX curlers, and then, as you probably guessed already, for mascara I'm going to be using my Maybelline Lash Sensational Mascara, and I'm going to be applying this just on my top and lower lashes. And then for lashes I'm going to be using the Ardell Wispy Lashes. They don't actually they don't actually come in a little bag like this. They're just nice and fluffy and quite natural to wear. That is the finished result. I just went and applied some lipstick off camera, and I just used the, what is this? The NYX Lingerie Liquid Lipstick, and this is in the shade French Maid number 20. It's just this really nice like mauvey colour. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the look turned out. You could wear this to school, you could wear this as an everyday makeup look for all you wanted, but obviously it is quite bold, so I will be doing a more natural look. If you guys want to see that, maybe like a back to school look, just let me know down in the comments. And yeah, so thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys!